What's up, guys? We are back. It's our third mobility series. Mike Trammell, Dr. Wade. So today's gonna be a little different, right? We've talked about ankle mobility, we've talked about hip mobility, and the key word's been mobility, right, Wade?
So far,
key word's been mobility,
100%.
right? Well, we're gonna go over thoracic mobility.
Yep.
However, it's really not about mobility, right? It's about stability.
It's 100% about stability. In the first segment, we did the ankles, and it was 100% about grinding out the ankles, trying to loosen it up, break up scar tissue, maybe you've had a prior injury. It was all about grinding it out. And then from there, you're doing some mobility, but it was mostly like handheld, just really getting in there deep.
Get dirty.
The hips was more about stretching, sustained stretching, really like getting and opening up the hips as much as you can through passive, and maybe some active exercise, but it was mostly passive. Whereas this one is almost
stability.
Yeah, it's almost mostly about actively trying to keep that chest up. Not that you don't need mobility, but a lot of it is that stability, and can you keep your chest up while you're on the bottom of your squat?
Yeah, and we're gonna give you some pretty awesome stuff. Once we're gonna start with a test, then we're gonna start with mobility tactics that you can do to help mobilize yourself. Then we're gonna go big time on stability, and then from there, we're gonna do some. I'm gonna give you some strengthening stuff for thoracic strength. Once you've established this great mobility and your stability, I'm a huge proponent of thoracic strength. Anyone who's coached by me knows that I love it. I spend a lot of time with it with my athletes. If you have a strong backside, you will be a great athlete. That's just how it goes. You will see the most gains in any sport you play if your back is stronger. Screw the bicep, forget the triceps.
Plus, if your back is really, really strong when you're working out, doing back squats, overhead squats, obviously super complicated, or a front squat, and the more your chest is upright and the more you're dropping down in a horizontal line, the less strain you're going to have on your lower back. The less strain you're going to have on other parts of your body. You're going to avoid things like bulge discs, herniations, maybe even some type of like a hip labrum type issue. Because even if you're bent forward just 10 degrees, you're increasing the amount of load on that lower back probably by 10 times.
And what do we always hear as strength coaches and as doctors? My back hurts, my low back hurts, my low back hurts. Where does it hurt? It's always L4, L5, S1, always in those same spots. Yep. This is where to help you fix that.
Yep, and your spine naturally has its own curve to it, and those curves are meant for shock absorbing. But they only work if you're having it straight, the pressure goes straight down from the ceiling down to your foot. If you're slightly leaned forward, that's not necessarily what your body was meant to do. At least those curves are meant for a straight up and down pressure.
Perfect, so we're gonna go and get started.
Okay.
First things with our test. First test is a Cobra Test, as we call it.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a passive and an active Cobra Test that Wade's gonna demonstrate for us.
All right. So this is a simple one. You guys see this in yoga. It's not very complicated. But what you want to do is you want to keep your waist flush against the ground as you press your arms down. Press your arms out. So you should be able to extend your arms out all the way. Now what I meant by having your waist pressed against the ground, this is not doing a Cobra and this is not doing a Cobra. Having it comfortably on the ground and having your arms locked out, this is a Cobra right here. So you should be able to do this. So this is a passive. Now we're going to do an active version of it. So you can bring your arms back and then you're just lifting up your chest. Now this one you should be able to have your chest lift up to the point where you can comfortably put your elbows underneath it. So if you can only lift up to here and you can't comfortably get your arms elbows underneath it, then you're not going up high enough. Okay.
Guys, some of you might that might look familiar to you in the strength conditioning world. That active positioning is what's called Superman, but it's not a Superman press, guys. It's really a Cobra active stretch in a way. Okay, it's a test.
And they also use that same test in like high schools and stuff.
90% of baseball players that I've ever worked have had to go through a thoracic mobility stability test, and this is one of the tests.
Another test I like is just the Sphinx test. So you bring your body down. Now once again, you don't want to have your elbows bent. You want to have your elbows locked out, extended, having your hands extended, having the pressure on your hands, and then try to bring your head down and have it touch the ground.
So guys, to reiterate, he's going to extend his arms as far as he can, really trying to reach and pull the ground underneath him, and he's going to try and get his head to touch the ground. If you can do the position that Wade's in right now, you pass the test. If you just say your head raised a little bit, Wade raised your head a little bit, he's not passing the test. Let's say he bends his arm, he can't extend his arms all the way. He fails the test again, right? So can I stretch my arms out and reach as far as I can, and can I get my forehead to touch the ground in this position? If he has to lean forward, Wade, go and lean forward a little bit. He doesn't have it, right?
Yeah, you should sit back all the way.
You should be able to sit back, trying to get your butt to your heels. Is in a sense is the idea. Obviously, you might not touch your butt to your heels, but that's the idea. Do I have that mobility?
What you also don't want to do is have your arms out super wide like this, because that's a lot easier to.
A really key word based on what Wade says, don't want to go wide. You want to be able to hug your biceps to your ears.
Yeah.
Can you hug your biceps to your ears? If you can do that, you pass the test. You can't do it. Can't hug your biceps to your ears. Can't extend your arms. Can't touch your forehead to the ground. Can't get your butt back all the way. You failed. And you have to work on it. Okay? So that's how the test works.
So once again, that's just a baseline mobility test, but like I said, this is more about stability, but we obviously have to establish a certain level of mobility.
We're also to give you guys a way of doing things, right? Test it out. How do you know it's bad?
Yeah.
Test it out.
Yep.
Mobilize it. Stability, strength. And we're trying to keep that same system going, guys, throughout. So the next thing we're going on is the mobility portion of this, starting with our foam roller, where we introduced you in our last segment on hip mobility. We introduced rolling out with hard medicine balls.
Yep.
So Wade's going to show us some mobility
So
tactics
once
with
again,
this.
you can use this ball. Okay. The only thing, people have done this before, this is not super complicated, obviously. This is not something new. But what I want to emphasize here is, first I'm going to have Mike show this real quick. So in your back, you have the spinous processes.
So the spinous process, essentially, just make it for layman's terms, is your spine going straight down the middle of your body, guys, right? The thoracic, we'll say thoracic for this. There's lumbar down here, there's thoracic, cervix is up top, right? Thoracic is these muscles in here. The small rhomboids you've heard, all these small muscle groupings that you've heard, they're all in here. So he's going to say is you want to avoid the spinous processes. That's in here. Don't roll out your spine. Roll out the meat around your spine. Right, Wade?
Yeah.
Not right?
Yeah, exactly. Because the reason why you don't want to compress the spinous process or the bone that's right in the middle of the spine. You want to compress the ribs that are attaching to the spine. And if you compress those ribs, you're essentially still mobilizing the spine without putting pressure directly on it.
And I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, Coach, my back hurts, my back hurts, my back hurts. And the thoracic, in the top part of their back. And I'm like, actually, your back doesn't hurt. You have a spine, you have a rib that's out.
Yeah.
Because the rib's attached to your spinal process.
So what you want to do is rather than being right in the middle, you want to be a little bit to the side. So you want to get as close as you can to that spine without getting directly on the spine. And like Mike said, you're rolling out these muscles. So you do have the rhomboids up top, but you also have long muscles that run the length of your spine, such as like the spinalis, ilicostalis, and longissimus. So you're getting all of those muscles too, but you're also just mobilizing the ribs in general. You're just loosening those ribs up and allowing them to have a little bit more mobility and flexibility in them.
And guys, this is huge. I can't tell you how many back injuries I've seen that have been ribs out of place. It's the most common athlete injury I've seen in the back, other than having sciatica, but it's usually a rib issue that's up top most of the time.
Yeah. And if you want to increase this, you can actually cross your arms over, so you're rounding your back a little bit, and that'll put a little bit more direct pressure on the back also.
So key to the mobilizing, guys, obviously you don't have a ball, a foam, you can do this with a foam roller.
Yes.
You can also get a little bit deeper with a lacrosse ball if you want to. Like, you really want to isolate certain parts that are bugging you, but this is where you want to start.
And I'll show you the lacrosse ball you can use a little bit higher, and that's a little bit more for the shoulder mobility. We'll get to that.
We're going to compound on everything, guys. The next one, the next mobility is, we call this Cobra hip down. Yes, Cobra hip down.
Okay. So this one's just like this. It's the same Cobra stretch, but if you can't lock your arms out all the way or your hips are up, you just want to start on the bottom and just kind of slowly come up and come down. You can hold it for a couple seconds and then come down. And the idea is, over time, you're going to be able to go higher just naturally. So you don't want to be in pain and doing this. You shouldn't force it. I shouldn't go all the way to the top and have it be super, super painful. It should get to that point where it's almost painful and then you back off. You come up and it's almost painful and then you back up. And then naturally, you're just going to go higher and higher by your back, getting more mobile and more warmed up.
And you guys see, the more weight go back to the weight, the more, if you can see it, it's hard to see, but you can see I could put a pencil between his scapulas. And that is kind of the idea. Do you have the mobility where your scaps can flex? That's your thoracic area, can flex. If it's flat, that means you can't use it. It means it's immobile. Okay? All right, we're gonna move on to the next segment of this, which is stability.
No, we're gonna actually do, sorry.
We're not gonna move on.
We're gonna do, we don't have it on here, but we're gonna drop our hips down on this.
We're gonna drop, I'm sorry, plate. So one more second mobility, guys, my bad. We're gonna drop down to our plate stability, or mobility.
Okay, so let me show you guys this one. This one's meant to stabilize every one of your individual vertebrae, okay? So, you're gonna start up higher like this. So you're gonna target one of your vertebrae, but you're gonna feel underneath the lip of this weight, and then I'm gonna drop down and touch my butt against the ground and have my head flat. If I can't touch my butt, I'm gonna slowly just do the same thing I did with the Cobra, up and down until my butt hits, and I should be able to sit in this position very comfortably. Once this is comfortable, I slide up and I hit the next vertebrae up, and you're basically segmenting every one of these vertebrae and loosening up each one of them individually. So same thing, up and down till I get to go. Clearly this one is more for my lumbar, lower back region, where I'm really putting direct pressure and emphasis on my lower lumbars, right? Okay, once I can get my butt to sit comfortably on the ground with this height of the weight, I'm gonna add more height. Okay, but as I add height, I'm gonna be focusing more on the segment above the one I was just working on. So for example, when I was at the lower one, I was able to get this low. Clearly if I'm this high, I can't get this lower segment. But I'm still gonna start way up here, mobilize, comfortably drop down, keep going down every single segment until I get to the bottomest segment that I can get to and still have my butt touch comfortably and have my head touch. And then once this feels comfortable, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna add another plate. But you can see I'm slowly working up the vertebrae from the lumbar to the thoracic. Obviously at some point it's gonna be maybe 2 or 3 of these higher, and I'll be working just the top of my thoracic region. But it just allows you to segmentally work every one of those vertebral segments.
And guys, this is a great drill to do. Obviously, at home you might not have plates. You can use
pieces of wood.
Piece of wood, I would say. I mean, we're assuming most of you guys do have access to some type of plates.
You can use books. I've used books.
Books, big books.
You get like small books, or you get those books from school, like the textbooks.
Textbooks, stack those. Anything that's about 1 inch or 2 high is kind of your goal. Plates are great. Bumper plates are great though. If you have access to these in a gym, use them. Or 45s if you're in like a global gym, those tend to be the right thickness.
What's good about these is it's wide enough too, so I can lay my entire back and my head on it comfortably. If you just have like a small piece of wood, then your head hangs over. And you don't want that. You want everything to be really, really flat.
So if you're using steel, 45 or 35 pound steel plates are about the same size as bumpers that are 10s.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea we're trying to give you guys. So that's it for mobility weight.
Yep, that's
so from there we're gonna move on to stability, guys. Okay, we're gonna go back to the Cobra position and do something called Cobra press and release.
Okay, so this is for people that can't actively bring their chest up high enough. So what you're going to do is, let's say you bring your chest up to here, and this is as far as you can go. The next step is to put your hand down. You don't even apply any pressure to the ground, but the fact that your hands are now stabilizing the ground, you'll be able to come up a little bit higher. And then from there, you push your hands in lightly just to get that last little bit. And then hold this for a good 10 to 15 seconds. Activating your mid-back, your lower back, everything. Trying to bring your shoulders back and down. And then after that 10 to 15 seconds, you slowly release your hand and see if you can hold that position. And you're naturally going to fall down a little bit. And then you can take a rest. And then do it all over again. Come up, place your hands down, put a little pressure, come up, hold. And then see if you can hold it as your body's dropping down. This is going to help with strength. But it's also going to help with some endurance too.
Yeah, it's a great drill, guys. So that's the ability we were talking about. There's a lot of other things I also do for stability, guys. Like I like overhead walks from a strength perspective with dumbbells or a barbell to help kind of build that strength. But in order to do that, you have to have an upright spine. And so one of the things I've seen in gyms, I've done this in gyms for years, is I've done wall squats. Where you face the wall and you squat. You put your hands up for mobility, right? You're up here. You're trying to squat to depth, right? Or you put a kettlebell in between your legs, right? And you face the wall, as I'm doing. And I squat, trying to get the mobility, right? So we've done that. You've seen that. It's something you do. Well, Wade and I want to show you something that's a little different, because that is great, right? Great. But it tends to roll the shoulders forward.
Yes.
Tends to get rid of the thoracic, what we want to use. So the next step is use a post.
Yes.
I want to show you that.
Yeah. I originally liked using this, and there's nothing wrong with it, because it did allow me to focus on just getting my back up, and I didn't have to worry about bringing my shoulders back and squeeze them. I was able to not worry about that aspect as I was just trying to learn how to get my chest up. So there is a benefit to this, but like Mike said, we want to take it
the next step.
The next step.
This is, if your mobility isn't very good, this is where you start.
Yeah.
You start here.
And clearly you can start further away from the wall, and then as you get more and more upright, you get closer and closer and closer until maybe your feet can touch the wall while you're going down to a full squat.
And that's the idea.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
But eventually, you're going to need this post.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So, first thing, well, and the good thing is we already have good ankle mobility, hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully
we already can squat with our legs.
Are working on it.
We can already squat with our legs a little bit wider, right? Get to a full depth, hopefully, right? So the next step is to incorporate having to keep upright while you're doing a squat, because nobody wants to see someone do a squat like this. That's a no-go.
We all know those people.
That's a no-go. Okay, so same thing as the wall. You can be a couple inches away from the post. And the first step would be just to have your arms out front. And having your arms out front, like Mike will tell you, it creates a counterbalance.
That's a counterbalance.
So it's much easier to have the weight a little bit in front and then drop back with it. So keep your arms out straight, drop down, go below depth or below parallel, and then come up. And then as you get more comfortable with that, you're bringing your body closer to the bar. The difference between this and that is now I can bring my shoulders back and down, really activate those shoulder blades, keep my arms straight. And on this one, my chest is actually touching the bar, and I gotta come down. And it's okay if your face hits, but you're still trying to keep your shoulders back and down, and then come up. Whereas, like we said, with the other one, you're gonna do this, and your shoulders are gonna roll forward.
So, exactly. And you can only do so much. And from the side, guys, you can
Let me
see
show you from the side.
angle.
So once again, my chest is up against it, and my arms are totally straight. I come down. Wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna activate first.
Activate straps.
Come down. And you can see I get down here, it's really hard to keep the shoulders activated. And then I'm gonna come up.
And this is a great starting point, right? You become a beast, put those arms behind your head, guys. We'll show you both angles, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so once you get this, then obviously maybe it's like this, right?
Yep.
And then the next could be that, right? So you can start here, come down, try to keep your shoulders, like I said, back and down. Almost like you're doing a back squat. And then the other one would be back,
Now your
back and down.
straps has to be engaged, but you also have to have great balance.
And you
Get
come
as
down.
close as you can.
And my face is gonna touch a little bit. Get a little turtle there, though. Try to maintain that position, and then pop straight up. And then obviously the goal is to get closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, until you're got it. And once you're crushing that, you got great stability, guys. And that'll allow you to move on to do other things. Now, I'm not saying you can't do these other things to build strength that I'm about to show you from a strength perspective, but it helps to work. I would like to, as a coach, if I was your coach, see you work on this other stuff first, and then work on the strength stuff and correlation with it. But this is something that should take precedence before the strength stuff, right? And I use a plethora of things to build thoracic strength, guys. It's one of my things with all my athletes, and they're probably, if any of them are watching this, so like, God, he talks about this all the time. So, a couple things I really like are with bands, okay? So, I'm a big fan of banded face pulls. I'm going to show facing you, okay, over here. So I take a band, put it around the pull-up post. I'm going to take a little squat. I'm going to hold it like a baseball, okay? And I'm going to pull to my face, activating my scaps from behind. So I'm going to extend and pull. So I'm going to come from the extend so you guys see me from behind. I'm going to extend, sit down a little bit of squat, keep my arms up, extend and pull, squeezing my scaps together, okay? That's the first one. The next one I love is called a band pull apart. Based on your strength, this will be who you are. I'll take 2 bands or 1 band, whatever it is, come up above my head. I will pull down on towards my nose or my eyes, and I will resist on the way up. Pull down, resist, okay? Those are those 2 things, okay? I also really like something called swimmers on the ground. You can also do these with plates when you get better with them, but it's gonna really force thoracic, your scaps come together, kind of in that cobra position. I'm gonna be here, head down. I'm gonna bring my scaps together. I'm gonna bring my arms through, back, and forward, okay? For about 10 reps or so of that, you can get to 2.5 and 5 pound plates. As you get stronger with it, if you're not very strong, do it without anything. Those are amazing for scapular retraction stuff and for building you up, okay? Also, with a barbell, everyone does the barbell row. Most people don't really do that right. They come up too high. A low, as I always say, because I was a football coach for many years, low pad level, chest down, arms in an underhand grip. That's called a supine grip. With a barbell, coming here, building that thoracic strength. There. Same with reverse flies with dumbbells. Same position, get 2 dumbbells or 2 plates. Come here, fly back for reverse flies. Okay? There's a variety of rows and pulls that you can do to increase your thoracic strength. Here's about 5 things I just gave you, but there's a ton of stuff that you can learn as you continue to progress through this.
And we talked earlier about the GHD machine also. And
Bunch of stuff
just doing back extensions on there.
Pause back extensions, guys, are great. That's going to be a lot more lumbar than people think than thoracic, but it works really well. There's also, I mean, we can go on for days. And that could be a whole other segment on strength. But the idea of this entire thing is stability, right? We talked about earlier. In order to increase stability, you need overhead stability. You need to work the stability muscles, but you need to make sure that they're mobile enough so they can be worked.
What I think is good too is Mike is obviously strength and conditioning, and obviously mobility really helps with, I mean, for power lifters, you get in a more proper upright position, you can lift more. For Olympic lifting, obviously you have better mobility, you're gonna have better technique, and you're gonna be able to like understand his directions and pointers much better if you can get in those positions. From my side, on the health, non-injury side, if you can stack things, if I see someone has really good mobility and Mike's teaching them, I'm feeling way better about that person's health, right? So even though we come from opposite spectrums, it blends so well together in what we're trying to teach you.
A good strength coach has a good doctor on call. I've met a lot of strength coach guys over the years that doesn't. They don't believe in the methodology, they believe in strength. And if you don't believe in both, you're not going to make the most efficient athlete you can make. So next week we're going to talk about front rack position. We're actually going to talk about that. We wanted to show you something cool, but I realized front rack wasn't going to be developed enough yet for us to show you that. So next week we're going to go over front rack mobility, which is a huge thing for all weightlifters and CrossFitters alike. Okay, getting especially masters athletes. We've seen it really big time. We're going to do a whole front rack segment next time. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.